our collective comprehension. But condense, if you will, the 50,000 years of man's recorded history in a time span of but a half a century.
关湖前面的这个魂室啊，远远的能看到应该是纸鹤，它的这个前面的
harmonic giant wave frequency effects on DNA that cause the DNA bonding of God's cells to go through programmed cell death and apoptosis. They were used on the Abrams tank and the Apache helicopters in Gulf for a while. What would happen after 2 to 3 minutes when Iraqi was hit by this up to 5 to 8 miles away? They would go blind and start vomiting. Within 5 to 10 minutes, they start bleeding from all orifices. Within 15 to 30 minutes, they would be dead, and all of their cells turn to slime because the cells would digest themselves. These would go through the side of a mountain building or tank. They were quite a bit different than the crispy critters of the mountain hot rounds that are pyrophoric. Depleting uranium that is burning at 4,000 to 6,000 degrees. The nanoparticles that would return them into crispy critters. The other weapons they tried in Iraq, which are called C3, which use a plasma bottle of highly energized plasma electrons as a target of speed of light and vaporized at 11 million degrees, or other technologies which they use in Iraq, including
There's microwave energies that can burn your skin at 130 degrees and you feel like you're on fire, or they can cook you instantly.
Make a 270-pound man shrink to the size of an insect within 30 seconds. So they had all these technologies. They've also used what's called microwave bombs. And Lebanon recently known as the GBU-38. These microwave bombs come... So anybody within a radius of, say, 150 to 300 yards, all of their organs will burst, not from a thermal effect, but from a microwave-induced organ explosion. And they did this on the people in the civilian populations as an experiment in conjunction with the Israeli forces.
Timeus. Welcome to Quasicrystalline. Let's take a walk through the jungle. Caught a slice of moon in the sky. I couldn't silence these sirens inside of my mind if I tried. Every second breathing is dying. All but the truth is a lie. Another cocaine tranquilizer. Vaporizing trichomes just to get by. Sky high hashish master assassins. Snatching fungi and eating up the caps. Wearing voodoo masks out in public. I'm a cacti psychoactive substance. Stranded camel made of vinyl. Atomic bombs, unlimited ammo. White raps of memories past until my fucking third eye cataracts. Notebooks stashed out in backpacks. Don't panic, these mixtapes organic. Otherwise I wouldn't have had it. Fresh garden carrots within the palm of your hand. Plant the seed and manage the land. My vision more clear than glass. Ancient atlas built to last, like primitive artifacts. Ancient atlas built to last, like primitive motherfucking artifacts.
In this same paradox, anything which defines the area of imagination. Nervous, for we know that anything which defines the paradox or design. Nervous, etheric energy can formulate. We make patterns or design so that we may create visual images. We may create symbols within our own psychic neural structure. Geometrical, we may so therefore develop the power to create his forms.
That it's not you, not you, not you, and I know that it's not you, not you, not you, and I know that it's not
Atlas extracted new formulas. Pull back the Aztec curtain. Precision rebirth on Earth. Each word spoken is heard. I'm a master wordsmith surgeon, carefully articulating each verse. Like single molecules of dirt, granules of rice left on your shirt from last night's supper. Dirty bastard, sundial's been reversed. It's now moving backwards. Genetics modified for breakfast. Your death wish left you dyslexic. Translated handwritten messages. They'll listen to each and every one of these breaths. Converted binary code sentences. Golden Pharaoh audio threats. Last minute desperate measurement. Vedic finesse with every step. Divine herbal remedy. I met my future self 9 times after death. Limestone strength put to the test. Thoughts without beginning or end. I'm a motherfucking melted clock time bender. Fuck these terrestrial vibrations. I'm patiently waiting to go back from where I came. Cause nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. I said nothing lasts forever.
not you, and I know that it's not you, not you, not you, and I know that it's not you, not you, not you, and I know that it's not you, not you, not you, and I know that it's not you, not you, not you, and I know that it's not you, not you, not you, and I know that it's not you.
Consider how form arises from chaos, starting from a simple, intuitively obvious way in which more form appears from less through familiar physical processes. And I'm thinking of the process of cooling. If you start with something at a very, very high temperature, atoms can't exist. The electrons fly off the nuclei, and you get something called a plasma, which is a sort of soup of atomic nuclei and electrons in a kind of gas. There's no longer individual atoms. The whole things, they disintegrate into a melange, a mixture of their component parts, the plasma, which has its own kinds of properties. If you cool these plasmas down, when you reach a certain temperature, it's low enough for atoms to form, and atoms begin to come into existence. Electrons start circulating around nuclei. You get atoms forming, you get a gas of atoms. But the temperature's still too high for any molecules to form. And say it's a hydrogen plasma, and you cool it down, you'll get hydrogen atoms, but you won't yet get any hydrogen molecules. Cool it down further, now you get hydrogen molecules. You cool the system down further, and you get a stage where more complex molecules can come into being. But they're still gaseous. Cool it down further, and they turn into a liquid, which has more form, can form drops and flow around, and has quite complex, ordered arrays of molecules within it. Cool it further still, and you get a crystal, which is an extremely highly regularly ordered formal arrangement of the atoms and the molecules. So you get a progressive increase in complexity of form as you lower the temperature. And in traditional kinetic theory, lowering temperature means less random kinetic motion of the particles. So you're getting a cooling down and an increase in complexity of form. as the cooling process takes place.
Atlas Timeus. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up. Hey yo, I rise and give thanks each morning. Still yawning, fresh out the portal. I'm an endangered tortoise, here to deliver the warning. A Hymenera Pro Terra Oracle, trapped in amber until further notice. At all times one must remain focused in order to open the inner lotus. Perfection with only a single stroke. Mentally rich, physically broken. You couldn't squeeze blood from this ancient stone. My soul is over 12 million years old. I'm a universal token of appreciation. Wake each day just to create gold. Choke notes out the throat chakra. A mastered arts apparatus. Atlas practice astral aerobatics. Lost in a galactic transaction. There's no going backwards. Abracadabra every single fucking chapter. I done climbed the highest ladder searching for what I was after. Now nothing else matters.
Generator of mind? Is it a generator of consciousness? More like a receiver of consciousness. Is consciousness, maybe mind or consciousness, is something like radio waves. It kind of permeates the continuum. But if you have a sufficiently sophisticated receiver, you know, if you have a Bose stereo system or whatever, you can tune in to the right wavelengths, and that's a different way of looking at the brain. I think neuroanatomists and perspective think of the brain as something that generates consciousness. But maybe that's not what it is at all. Maybe it's just tune into something that is kind of inherent. Certainly a lot of the
abstract angles obtuse, doomed in a celestial room filled with full moon Rubik's cubes, cloud nine microscopic hyperzoom, linguistic revolutionary tools, nanotechnology on the move. They control your thoughts and mood, keep all individuals in tune. I found the lost jewels of Fibonacci, reverse osmosis technology, Gnostic hip-hop, ski mask robbery. Sherlock Holmes never caught me. I jumped over edges you've never seen. Atlas style, sicker than gangrene. Puked all over the scene, then proceeded to leave immediately. Potions bubbling in the laboratory, needlessly building mischievously, creating hybrid codes completely. Then it's on to the next motherfucking frequency. It's a motherfucking game of Jumanji. Boggle drum steady, chunk thumping. Drunken dead vine swinging monkeys. Ghetto blast, permanent funkiest. And yo, I'm comfortably numb without money. Convert these breadcrumbs into honeycombs of freedom. Find me lost within Walker's factory. Atlas stuck hidden in the slums. From highly dysfunctional, troubled public utterances. Pathetic first world problems. Spot-chillingly deaf, blind, and dumb. Gray squares on the chessboard. Not to play is how it's won. 10,000 rugged revolutions around the sun. Eyeballs and jaws, gas masks on nuns. Analog synthesis religion. Build music just to reminisce. Kaleidoscope fractal exquisite. Digital shamanic television. Night flights and day trips. Ancient dragon lanterns dimly lit in the distance.
Pretty neat, huh? That's a Cuervo's car. He lets me use it sometimes. Hey, not to worry, Snake. You've just been shot with a fun gun. Feel it? You feel it? Feel it? It's pure mesh, man. 100 proof artery choke. Like Cuervo says, when a hit pulls you down to longish from death, that is living, man. Yeah, talk to me first, Snake. I could have set this whole thing up. I'm actually Cuervo's agent, you know, and I would love to represent you too. We can make a bundle together. I know I can help you career. I mean, you're a legend and all, but the past couple of years has let you fall off the face of the earth.